Regardless of how the Chicago Bulls finish this season, I'd consider this season a success. I often say that expectations can be the thief of joy. This season by the Chicago Bulls is living proof of that. The Chicago Bulls were a relative unknown by national pundits coming into this year. Once they got hot, it was as if the river of positivity couldn't stop flowing. As the Bulls gained steam, so would their expectations. Progress is not linear, and neither is the rise of Chicago. This was a team that last season finished as the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference. While last year's Bulls were overrun by injuries, they showed signs of being a good basketball team. This year, they would become that basketball team that we all knew that they could be. Although stats like the Bulls being 2-19 versus the league's top 8 teams are worrisome, the thing is, something like that is fixable. Whether it be in the off-season or now, I know that the Bulls are capable of righting any problems that they may have. It's not a matter of can they do it, it's just a matter of when. At least in my opinion, when it comes to the Chicago Bulls, what do we expect out of them to close this season? I may be worried for the short term, but I think that the long term has a whole lot of promise. This video, we have a ton to talk about, but before we go any further, let's get a word from our sponsor.
You guys know me, I love basketball. It's one of my favorite things on this planet, hands down. There's really not much better than going to see some live NBA action. The dunks, the blocks, the crossovers, I love it all. You know what I also love? Being able to find tickets at a fair price. That's where SeatGeek comes in. SeatGeek is not only the sponsor of today's video, but they're also an amazing ticketing app. Whether it's concerts, baseball, basketball, football, festivals, or more, SeatGeek puts tickets from all over the web in one place to make buying super simple. I've got the app on my phone, and they're by far the easiest way to buy tickets. SeatGeek is clutch. They even let you know what type of deal you're getting when you're getting it. Now, if you guys want to be like me and get in on some live action, don't worry, I've got the hookup. Use code DCOOP for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code DCOOP. Just make sure you click the link in the description below to download the app today. I want to give a major shout out to SeatGeek for supporting our channel.
Saturday, April 2nd, the Chicago Bulls would lose to the Miami Heat. Caruso, who had been nursing tightness and soreness in his back, said his pain elevated to a level that he couldn't even play through. To quote Caruso, it started creeping up a little bit into my middle back and my shoulder blade. I was at the point where I needed to sit down because if I got hit again, it was going to be pretty painful. With Caruso out, the Bulls' defense started to fall apart, which unfortunately has been a consistent theme this season. Caruso and Zoe are among the most impactful players on the Bulls roster. This isn't me saying that they're the most impactful. This is me saying that their impact goes a very long way, especially on the defensive side of the basketball. The energy and effort that these players play with is infectious, having the ability to spread throughout the entire roster. Steals and blocks start to turn into layups and dunks. Their energy plays a major part in what has helped to make Chicago one of the best home teams in the NBA. The fans of Chicago play their part too. The Bulls' away record? Yeah, we don't really talk about that around these parts, though I will say that's something that also needs to improve. In the NBA playoffs, you're going to be playing in hostile environments. Every game isn't going to be a home game. Your focus has to be there. Versus the Miami Heat, Billy Donovan said that Caruso simply couldn't go anymore. He tried to put him back in, but he was hobbled. He said that he just wasn't right. Going forward, Caruso's health is very important for the Chicago Bulls, as is the health of Zo2. The Bulls have been without Zo since January 14th because of a knee injury. This injury caused Zo to have to undergo surgery for a torn meniscus. On top of that, he's been dealing with a bone bruise that causes him issues when he tries to run. March 28th, it would be reported that Zo had been doing very low impact work. Fast forward to April 2nd, and Billy Donovan said that the Bulls are in the process of building Zo towards sprinting/cutting. He noted that Zo is the driver behind all of this, and that Zo really wants to play. According to Bulls Muse, before his injury, he was the only player with at least 100 assists, 100 rebounds, 40 steals, and 20 blocks. Before Zo went down, he was shooting 42.3% from deep. The crazy thing? He was doing this with some pretty dense volume. Zo2 was taking 7.4 threes a game, and he was doing so with zero hesitation. I always felt that if Zo could truly figure out his jump shot, that the sky would be the limit. This is somebody that teams used to leave wide open in LA. Since Lonzo Ball's injury January 14th, the Chicago Bulls have been 19th in offensive efficiency. and 25th in defensive efficiency. You see, when ZO2 and Caruso are out, the Bulls are very vulnerable at the point of attack. If you're starting LaVine and DeRozan, you want the guys around them to be able to lock in on the defensive side of the basketball. I can't overstate how important perimeter defense is in this league, especially when you don't have a game-changing shot blocker on the backside. While I'm talking about perimeter defense, I want to shout out Ayo. His potential is through the roof. Call me crazy, but I think he does a lot of things that remind me of a young Drew Holiday. According to the metrics that B-Ball Index use, he's the best rookie on-ball defender in the league. That's high praise, but guys like Ayo and Javonte can only do so much. Patrick Williams has been a positive, but the amount of time that he's missed this season is glaring. This was supposed to be a major developmental year for him. In my opinion, you can only learn so much watching the game. There's no replacement for game reps when it comes to young players. I like the upside that Williams has, but I'm a little biased because you guys know how I feel about wings. In my opinion, Williams doesn't have to do a lot to become a high-value player for the Chicago Bulls. Shoot the ball with some volume and efficiency, continue to showcase your defensive potential, and rebound well, and you'll make a lot of money by the time your career is over. Speaking of defensive potential, Vooch is currently leading the team with 1 block per game. That's only 0.1 ahead of ZO2, who is averaging 0.9 blocks per game. Vooch is good at a lot of things. In my opinion, setting the tone isn't one of them. I personally wouldn't mind Chicago with a big who has more of a presence near the rim. I've seen some Bulls fans bring up Rudy Gobert, who would be a dream if the price was right. All I'm going to say is pay attention to what happens in Utah this offseason. I think it's going to be a wild ride. In my opinion, I would like to see Chicago go for a guy like Miles Turner. Fit-wise, I think that he makes sense, but then again, I would like to see those rebounding numbers increase. Having a presence in today's game can't be overstated. I'll sit here and argue that Steven Adams is an invaluable piece to the Grizzlies' extravagant puzzle. Does anybody miss Gafford? Even a little bit? There's been some discourse over the trade to get Vooch. Interested to know your thoughts on the trade down in the comments below. I mean, does DeMar really come any other way? I think Vooch is a good player, but offensively he has to give you a lot to overcome not being a major presence down low, especially when this team is down high-level perimeter defenders. If Chicago wants to keep Vooch in their future plans, I think they should look into acquiring a versatile defensive four like Larry Nance Jr. To be fair, when Vooch is knocking down his shots, he can really open up an offense. Speaking of offense, when Zoe, DeMar, and Caruso are on the floor together, they have an offensive rating of 116. That's good enough for number 2 in the league. At 98.5, their defensive rating isn't too shabby either. As a matter of fact, that's good enough for number 1 in the entire NBA. I've talked a lot about Zoe and Caruso's defensive capabilities, but don't sleep on Zoe's rebounding and also his playmaking. Caruso has also done a good job making strides this season as a playmaker. When it comes to Chicago, I don't think it's all doom and gloom like everybody wants it to be. We've seen what Chicago has the potential to be. They've laid the foundation. They just have to hope that Zach LaVine sees the vision. LaVine is a flamethrower of a scorer that turns what are heat checks for other players into great shots for himself. Him and DeMar, who had looked like an MVP candidate for spurts this season, are a dynamic scoring duo who can put up numbers with anybody. There were a lot of doubters when DeMar signed with Chicago this offseason. Turns out he would be just what they needed, averaging 28 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists on 50.3% from the field. DeMar's career resurgence has been a beautiful thing to watch. Over the past few years, he's become a much better passer. When you're playing with some of the guys that he plays with who can flat out fill it up, passing is a great trait to have. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing more of that trait from this Bulls team. DeMar is really shooting 35.5% from 3 this season. That's a career high. I just wish he shot them with more volume. I know that he's always been capable of knocking down an open 3, but I'm going to say it anyways, man. Never stop working on your game. Here's to hoping this offseason the Bulls can add a little more size and more shooting. I really can't tell you guys how invaluable Zoe's shooting is to this team. Chicago is dead last in 3-point attempts per game, only averaging 29. Far too often it feels like this team is content trading 3s for 2s. Shout out to my boy LaVine. I hope he's able to get and remain healthy. While a Zoe return would hit, a Zoe return might not be likely. April 5th, it was reported that Zoe experienced some discomfort when the Bulls tried to ramp up his knee rehab. This wouldn't be the first time that something like this would happen. According to Shams, the Bulls are expected to shut Lonzo Ball down for the remainder of the season. I know that when Zoe returns to the court that he's going to do big things, but when will that be? I think it's important that Chicago doesn't rush him back. At the end of the day, we want Zoe healthy. The defensive versatility and fighting through screens and all that stuff, that can wait. With that being said, I really do believe that the Bulls have too many talented offensive players to be playing at the level they're playing at on the offensive side of the basketball also. Here's to hoping that Billy Donovan can figure something out before it's too late. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GETLIKECOOP bringing you guys the scoop. Until our next upload.